Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Davis Express Car Wash Neighborhood Meeting. We thank you all for joining us this evening. We're so excited to share our project with all of you and share with you some of the benefits that we believe this project will bring to the community. Just as importantly, we're excited to hear from you, our neighbors, and hear your feedback and comments as well on the project so that we can make this an even better project than we had planned. Um, Before we begin, I do want to go over the agenda real quick. So we will begin with an introduction, um, just kind of describing who we are, what our goals are for the project. Then we'll do a project overview, describe some of the community benefits, look at the current site conditions, as well as some planned improvements that we have for the site, car wash purchasing behaviors, and we will finish up with a Q&A at the end. A little bit more on the format. So after we are done with the presentation, we'll go right into that Q&A. For the sake of time and to make sure that we hear everybody's or everybody has the time to speak, we'd ask that you limit the talking time to 2 minutes per speaker until we can get through everybody's initial questions and comments. And then we will have time at the end if you hang around to circle back if you have additional comments or questions. Um, in addition to that, if you have additional questions that come up after the meeting, as well if you want to receive project updates, please email davisexpresswash@gmail.com, and we will be able to reach out to you to answer any additional questions and again provide project updates. Um, so with that all said and done, now I turn it over to my father Thomas, and he will give you a brief introduction.
Thank you, Evan. By way of introduction, my name is Tom Lyon, and together with my son Evan, we are proposing an express car wash facility located at 480 Mace Boulevard in Davis. I want to share with you that I've lived in Davis for 22 years. I have 6 children and 7 grandchildren, all living in Davis, and my parents also reside in Davis. That's 4 generations all living in Davis, mostly in the South area. We're a local family, but no relation to families with the same last name that may have developed El Macero, that sell real estate in the Sacramento area, or operate a former restaurant with the same last name. Our goals behind operating the car wash are to be a good neighbor and citizen of Davis by providing an excellent wash experience, one that utilizes state-of-the-art reuse and solar power generation with an eye on overall sustainability and job creation. We intend to employ people with physical limitations in an attempt to provide them training and confidence to succeed. In addition, we want to pay back the many Davis organizations my children have been fortunate to be part of, such as Little League Baseball, soccer, and Boy Scouts. We will achieve this goal by sponsoring fundraisers and through donations. This philanthropic activity will not be limited to youth, but rather all Davis organizations that rely on donations. In my current business, I have a history of providing secondary community benefits, such as donations to organizations like schools, sports teams, the Shriners Hospital in Sacramento, and more. This is a way of life for us and the communities we do business in, and I intend to do this in Davis. As we know, this location is the former Boy Scout Christmas tree lot. You need to know that we are actively involved in assisting the Boy Scouts to find a location that will accommodate their needs. One final goal we have for the project is to see a completion of the Mace corridor that facilitates a safe environment for all modalities. At this time, I'll turn the meeting over to my son, Evan, who will discuss the details of the project.
Thank you very much for that introduction, and I will now provide a brief project description and highlighting how Davis Express Car Wash is different from the current offerings available in Davis. So we do have several other car washes in Davis. We have some gas station car washes. We also have full serve car wash. So the key difference there is the speed at which we can process and wash vehicles thoroughly. So in a full service car wash, for example, the actual washing time takes anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes. Oftentimes the wait to get into that tunnel is anywhere from 45 to an hour long. Um, Additionally, the gas station car washes. Once you're inside that tunnel, washing time takes on average 8 to 10 minutes. Um, so if I'm the fifth person in line at a gas station car wash, I can expect my wait to exceed 45 minutes. In comparison, the express car wash at our tunnel will take approximately 2 minutes and 30 seconds from the start of the wash tunnel to complete the wash process at the end. Additionally, we can facilitate up to 10 vehicles inside the tunnel at once. Um, Another point of pride on this project for us is that we would be the first water saver certified car wash in Yolo County. That just is a certification program by the ICA that recognizes responsible water reclaim and recycling. And we'll get more into the water usage later on in the presentation. We also have 21 self-serve vacuums, complimentary vacuums on site, a dog wash, and a complimentary bike wash and fix-it station. Taking a look at kind of how that all fits on this site. So on the west side of the site, we have Mace Boulevard. This on Mace is our main ingress egress here. That is a right in, right out ingress egress. Um, as you can see, if you pull on the site, there is a 3-lane stacking area, very large. This was done intentionally. I've witnessed it in other parts of Davis as well as over here at the Starbucks across the street from the site. That during peak times that can cause some overflow either out onto Mace, or I'm thinking of In-N-Out Burger as well, or even Dutch Brothers, that the stacking ends up pouring out into the street. And so we have a couple measures that we take or took here. First off, we're able to facilitate up to 30 vehicles in that stacking area. We also have surveillance cameras designated for both the Mace ingress egress as well as the Cowl ingress egress. Um, and what that does is feed back to the manager. So we have an attendant out here that's helping facilitate the transactions and making sure that they're occurring as quickly as possible. But they're also making sure that the vehicles are stacking properly and we're utilizing all of this space as much as possible. Now, what occurs if that stacking line reaches a certain point, roughly this location, the manager can then radio over to the attendant, or the manager can go address it itself, and we can actually shut off or close off the stacking area. So we would ask the next cars that pull in to go ahead and exit out the Cowl side or turn around and exit out the Mace side. And come back at a later time. We'd also give them the option if it's available to park over here until we can do that. But again, with that 2 minute and 30-second wash time, we do not foresee this ever occurring. So as you pull up to the pay station, the typical pay station transaction time takes anywhere from 10 to 20 seconds, especially with that attendant there assisting you for your first time. It can be a little bit confusing. After you complete the transaction through the pay stations and come through, you're greeted by another attendant who's there to help guide you onto the wash conveyor. Once your vehicle is on the conveyor, it is pulled through the wash tunnel, washed and dried. Then you do have the option to use the complimentary vacuums. We have 7 here on the north side of the site. We also have 14 more here on the east side of the building. These vacuums are all fed by a vacuum producer that is located in our equipment room with sound dampening material lining it. Essentially, if you think of it like your vacuum at home, it'd be like having your vacuum out in the garage or in another room with soundproofing around it, and then you're using that extension nozzle. So all you hear on these vacuums is the actual suction that it makes, but the producer, the loud part, is contained in the equipment room with a muffler. There's also a vacuum separator there that collects any of the particles that the vacuums have sucked up. Some other the features that I'd like to point out, we will be installing a sidewalk around the site, the entire Mace frontage as well as the Cowl frontage. ADA compliant sidewalk. We also will have a dog wash, as I mentioned, and the intention behind that is, if you're coming in to get your vehicle cleaned and you clean out the inside, you don't want to go and then put your dirty dog inside your clean vehicle. And it's kind of the same idea with the bike wash and fix it station. The bike wash and fix it station is complimentary to anybody in the community, whether you're washing your vehicle here or not. But the idea behind it as well is, I've had friends who mountain bike and they take their vehicles up and they get dirty and then they bring their bikes back and they want to wash their car. Well, now they have the ability to park their vehicle, lock their bike, take their vehicle through the wash so that their bike doesn't get damaged or anything like that. Exit out the wash and then wash their bike off and put it back onto their car. Some other features, all of the vacuum bays and the parking spaces are covered by solar panels. We also have oh, I forgot the bus stop. So the current bus stop on Mace Boulevard would be upgraded to include a lighted shelter as well, similar to what exists currently over by the Starbucks off of Mace Boulevard. Next, we're going to take a look at some project renderings. So here we are looking from the Mace Boulevard, Ingress, Egress, kind of highlighting the size of that stacking and queuing area. Additionally, taking a look at the modern architecture style of the building. You can also see the pay stations in their canopy over here as well. Next, this is from the Mason Cowell intersection. Again, the upgraded upgraded bus stop, the lighted shelter. You also have the upgraded sidewalks, and then again, the other view of the pay station and the tunnel entrance. Finally, another view of the pay stations, the manager's office, as well as the tunnel entrance. And then the tunnel entrance with the attendant there guiding the vehicle onto the conveyor, but really highlighting the amount of space that the vehicles have to stack out here before entering the car wash. This view is from the 14 vacuum stalls located on the east side of the building. As you can see, they are covered with solar panels to provide shade, but also offset energy usage. You can see the bike parking here with the bike wash station. And then this is the view of the cowl, or looking towards the cowl ingress egress. Again, the parking spaces over here on the left-hand side with the solar panels above, the dog washing area, the picnic table for staff members as well as those who are wishing to use the dog washing area as well. So moving on to community benefits, really environmental benefits as a whole. Again, this would be the first water saver car wash in Yolo County, or water savers car wash. And to carry that certification, um, you there is a requirement to capture and treat and route all wash water used in the process to a treatment facility. So underneath the car wash tunnel is a large series of concrete tanks essentially, and it allows the water to be captured and treated through a settling process, and then pumped back up and recycled as well. So here we take a look at kind of water usage on typical car washing types. So at-home car washing, estimated estimated 116 gallons used during the wash process. That water is not recaptured, so it's washing brake dust, grime, oil back into our watershed. That water is also not recycled. Gas station car washes on average use about 50 to 75 gallons. If they have water recapture, they can typically recapture about 50% of that water used and recycle about 50% of that water used. And again, it's not very common for gas stations to use the recapturing process. It's typically cost prohibitive for them, and then it requires tanks to be built underneath their um, tunnel. And full service estimated between 70 and 125 gallons of fresh water per vehicle. Um, Again, if they're equipped with water recapture, the type of water recapture that Davis Express Car Wash uses, they can recapture up to 91% of that. You do lose some percentage to evaporation during the drying process, and use up to 75% of that recycled. Um, Typically, older car washes do not have water recapturing devices or tanks installed. It's something that is somewhat modern, um, and it's very extremely cost prohibitive to go back and install in a car wash that's already built. Essentially, you have to level the car wash, dig down underneath, and build the concrete storage tanks to allow that water settling process to occur. It's essentially like building a brand new wash from the ground up. And then we can see the estimated Davis Express car wash. We actually did some recalculations on new equipment that we will be using, and we got our freshwater usage down to 20.3 gallons of fresh water per vehicle. We'd have a 91% on average recapture rate. That actually goes up a little bit in the winter, but we use 91% as our summertime recapture rate. The evaporation typically occurs a little bit quicker during summertime. And then we would use 75% of the water we use in our wash tunnel is actually recycled and recirculated through. So essentially, the first 2/3 of that wash tunnel, the equipment up there can use recycled water. The back third of that car wash tunnel is required, fresh water is required for the spot-free rinse, to ensure that there's no hard water left on the vehicle. Moving to the next slide. So oftentimes people ask, well, why do we need to wash your car so often? I don't really care if it looks good or not, but there has actually been studies performed. This particular one from the University of California at Berkeley. They looked at areas that experience a significant number of days in between rain. So there's the old saying that's most dangerous time to drive is after the first rain. And they actually did a study to kind of prove this. So when there's a gap of 21 days in between rainfall, the percentage increase in fatal car accidents goes up to 21 plus, or excuse me, um, that's 21 days between the rainfall. It goes up close to 9% as opposed to 0 days or 1 day from rainfall. Um, and the study's author, Daniel Eisenberg, suggests that during a drought, engine oil and grease build up so that when it rains, the oil and water mixture turns the road into a skid pan. And so one of the benefits of washing your car regularly is you're actually containing a lot of that engine oil, grease, dirt buildup, and essentially getting rid of that at the car wash where it can then be pumped out and handled and disposed of properly, as opposed to getting on the roads and increasing a safety risk during the times that it does rain. And given the current conditions here in California, it's pretty typical for us to go 21 or more days in between rainfall. Again, highlighting some more community benefits. A city up in the city Federal Way, Washington, Public Works Department actually did a study on the impacts that at-home washing, in particular unreclaimed wash water, contributes up to 190 gallons annually of gasoline, diesel, and motor oil into their wetlands, or excuse me, their watershed. Phosphorus and nitrogen up to 400 pounds annually, ammonia 60 pounds annually, surfactants 2,200 pounds annually, and then various other solids such as brake dust and things of that nature, 3,000 pounds annually into their wetlands. A little population comparison: as of the 2020 census, Federal Way had 101,000 residents. Davis at the 2020 census had 65,622. Looking at the current site conditions, or as it is today, I've always known this site as the Boy Scouts Christmas tree lot. They hold an annual fundraiser for about 4 weeks, 4 weeks out of the year. Towards the Christmas holiday. We are actually working with the Boy Scouts and relocating them to a better, more efficient site for them. And we do have a site in mind, and we are very excited for the potential of that. And once it's finalized, we are going to be helping the Boy Scouts advertise that and make the transition over to the new site. Besides the Boy Scout usage, that lot most days of the year is sitting vacant with no development. Weeds growing essentially. There are no sidewalks currently on the site, degraded bike lanes on the Mace and Cowell side, above ground power lines and utility lines running along the Mace Boulevard side of the site. And the bus stop, as mentioned earlier, is in significant disrepair. So here's a view of the site currently looking south down Mace. As you can see, the sidewalk on the left-hand side of the site is kind of a makeshift dirt path where there is asphalt. It is breaking up. The above-ground utility lines and power lines in the distance, approximately over here, you can see the bus stop with weeds growing over it. The degraded bike lane here. It's really hard to tell where the bike lane is and the drive lane is, and it presents a potential point for conflict. Looking at the Cowell side of the site, again, degraded sidewalk here, a makeshift sidewalk, degraded bike lane markings on the bike lane. Additionally, there's gravel spilling off of the site into the bike lane. It is becoming somewhat of a hazard for bike travel. So let's take a look at the planned improvements to fix some of these things. So installing ADA compliant sidewalks along both the Mace and Cal side, restriping class 2 bike lanes, again across along Mace and Cowell, installing high visibility bike lane conflict markings at both the Cowell driveway as well as the Mace Boulevard driveway. Undergrounding existing power lines and utility lines that are run along Mace, and improving that bus stop that's located on Mace Boulevard, adding the shelter and lighting. Again, here's a view looking at Cowell Boulevard and the current bike lanes and the fire lane here. This to kind of give you an idea of a high visibility bike lane. It would have the green cross hatching here to really highlight potential conflict from a vehicle. This would be the only ingress egress along Cowell Boulevard with the upgraded bike lanes. The cross hatching of the bike lane separating the drive lane from the bike lane as well. Again, just to give you an idea of the high visibility conflict markings that would go in front of the entrances, green to really highlight the potential conflict, cross hatching as well. And the goal is to be able to provide safe and effective means of crossing both of the ingresses and egresses along Mace as well as on Cowell Boulevard. Next, we're going to discuss some of the car wash purchasing behaviors. So we've really been working on this project with 3 different consultants that are experts in the car wash industry, as well as equipment manufacturers. And we've ran multiple site analytics on the site. On average, we estimate 95% of the vehicles or the guests that would use this car wash all live within 5 miles, and 86% live within 3 miles. So in general, people tend to or want to use car washes that they're near their home, right? It doesn't make sense to drive significant distance to go get your car wash, get in your car, and then drive another significant distance. By the time you get back to your house, your car's dirty again. So we really want to be serving the local population and nearby population. Peak times for a car wash tend to not be during peak rush hours. And this is something that we've really looked into and really dived into because there is this idea that this would potentially contribute to rush hour traffic. But what actually we found is that alternative uses such as gas stations and drive-through restaurants and things of that nature, they tend to be busier when more cars are on the road. In comparison, car washes tend to be busier when people have time to wash their vehicle. Looking at some of these peak hour times. So we went ahead and gathered data from other car washes in Yolo County. So this is the first one we're looking at as the typical times for the Express Car Wash Quick Quack in West Sacramento. We chose this site because of its vicinity to the highway entrance, so it will give a similar kind of usage pattern as the Davis Express Car Wash location. This particular one is located off of Harbor Boulevard in West Sacramento. So as you can see, the morning hours typically don't see a rush. It's minimal cars at our site between 7 and 9 a.m. We estimate approximately 10 cars per hour, and you can see how it rapidly increases to about the 11 o'clock hour, continues on till about 3 o'clock, and then we start our downtrend later on in the evening till about the 6 o'clock hour, where we would estimate approximately 15 to 20 cars per hour. And then to further highlight the peak times that a car wash really experiences its most traffic is midday, Saturday and Sundays. So we went ahead and pulled the data, excuse me, from the Quick Quack again in West Sacramento. And this is really just to highlight that midday peak time. And as you can see, the curve of this data really suggests a kind of bell curve forming the peak in the middle of the day. This is another car wash we looked at in Woodland, Sparkles Car Wash. Again, that same peak that you see between the 11 and 3 o'clock hours. Um, Again, to illustrate the point, this is Saturdays at Sparkles Car Wash in Woodland. Um, the morning times, typically the slower the times, and a gradual increase till about the 3 o'clock hour, and then a significant decrease after that. So not during peak rush hour times from 7 to 9 a.m. or 4 to 6 p.m. in the evenings. And in comparison, alternative uses and some uses that are currently here on Mace Boulevard, we have the 7-Eleven at Mason Childs. They actually experience two peaks that tend to follow rush hour traffic, right? So people need gas, they're going to stop at the 7-Eleven, or they need something on their commute, they're going to stop at the 7-Eleven. So they see an increase in volume in the morning, a steady decrease, and then a significant increase again around the 6 p.m. hour. And this is Starbucks in the El Macero Center. Um, Coffee morning times tend to be the busier times. People commuting into work, they see a little bit of a drop off midday, and then another little peak towards the end of the day, and then a drop off later on in the day. So now we will begin the question and answer portion of our presentation. Again, please try to limit questions to 2 minutes so that we can provide everyone an opportunity to speak. If you still have additional questions after we've gotten through everybody, go ahead and feel free to stick around, and we'll go ahead and try to answer those as best we can afterwards. Go ahead and use your virtual Zoom hand and raise that hand if you would like to ask a question. Our moderator will call on the attendees as the hands are raised and unmute and announce the speaker. And finally, again, for additional questions and updates on the project, please feel free to email davisexpresswash@gmail.com, and we will do everything we can to get back to you as soon as possible.
Okay, it looks like we have a couple of hands up so far. I'd like to invite Erica to speak.
Hi, thank you. Um, yeah, I might have missed the first couple of minutes, so apologies if this is redundant with something you already shared, but can you explain the operation? Is it automated? Will there be staff? If so, how many staff? And more specifically, how many cars per hour do you foresee given in that peak time, let's say between like 3 to 6 p.m. on a Friday, most importantly?
Yeah, thank you so much for that question. So, yes, we will have staff members on site uh, during peak times. We'd have 4 to 5 staff members on site. And then the system there is automated pay stations, but we do have an attendant out at the stations as well to help with the transactions. Additionally, and then as well as a manager, excuse me, on site monitoring the surveillance at both the Ingress and Egresses, one on Mace and one on Cal, but also basically every other point of the site, the vacuum areas. We also have an attendant out at the vacuum areas, and then one attendant helping to guide vehicles onto the conveyor. With regards to the peak hours, so our peak hours really are from that 11 to about 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock period, depending on the day. And the range can kind of go. So in an express car wash, you kind of get what we call rushes, right? So maybe in a quick second, you could have 10, a quick second, but in about, 5 minutes, you could have 10 vehicles pull onto your site at once. So we really have the process to make sure we're expediting those transactions. I would say on average, we would look at between 40 and 50 vehicles washed per hour in those peak times. And that's, again, significantly greater than the morning hours between 7 and 9. 7 o'clock, we average typically between 5 and 6 vehicles per hour. And then later in the evening times, from 4 to 6, 7 o'clock, it drops down significantly from 15 to 10 to 15 vehicles per hour.
Okay.
Thank you very much for the question.
It looks like the next question is from Shar.
Yes, this is Shar Henwood. I just have one quick question. Who are the other members of the LLC that own the property, please?
I can't actually speak to that. I don't know the exact makeup of that LLC. So we are not the property owners, though. We are leasing the property or trying to lease that property there. But I couldn't speak to the exact owners of the LLC. I could definitely, if you want to go ahead and email the Davis Express Wash at Gmail, and then I could look more into that and reach out to you with that information.
Thank you. I'll do that.
Thank you.
Okay, it looks like the next question we have is from Jerry.
Yeah. Hi, how are you? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I live in the area and I have some concerns. Okay. First, I think it would be helpful if we had the area on Friday at one of your peak times, 3 to 6, is a complete mess with traffic. Also, behind the proposed car wash is a residential development with a lot of young kids. In the morning and around 3 o'clock, a lot of the kids come back from Pioneer. So cars, going in and out of the area would be at least dangerous, from my perspective. I think, and you can comment on this, I think it would be better to wait until after Mace Boulevard is fixed. I know there are some proposals to spend millions of dollars fixing that area. Additionally, I think a lot of us in the neighborhood would feel better if we had an environmental impact report that detailed, you know, exactly what to suspect and, you know, what's going on. A couple of questions, specific questions I had is number one, how much are you going to charge for the car wash? I looked at Quick Quack while you were making your presentations, and they indicated it was about $20. So I guess you want to charge $20 for 2.5 minutes. Additionally, well, you said you were going to give money to charity specifically. How much were you proposing to give to charity each year? Would it be $1 million? Would it be 500,000? Would it be 5,000? What are your proposals? And is that something that you'd be willing to write in as part of your conditional use permit, if granted? Go ahead. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Glazer, for the questions. So I should make sure I'm addressing all of them. The first thing I got was the peak times from 3 to 6. So our peak time would end at about 3 o'clock. So that would be the downtrend. So 6 o'clock, we'd actually be seeing some of the lowest number of vehicles on our site during the day. With regards to the environmental impact report, I believe that's available on the city's website currently. I could be mistaken on that, but I do believe it's on the city's project webpage as well. Price points. So no, we would not be charging $20 for a car wash. Our price points as of right now are about $9 for our basic wash, $12 for the middle wash, and then $18 for the highest level wash. And we'd also be offering a monthly membership for people who would like to take advantage of that. And it's actually a pretty cool feature that Express Car Washes do. So you'd have unlimited washing as much as you want during the month. You'd pay a flat rate, and then you know, be able to take advantage of that. We also have on our automated pay stations would be license plate recognition for those members, so that when they pull up, it reads the vehicle's license plate, identifies that it's a monthly member, and lifts the gate. So that helps speed up that transaction time even more. And then with regards to charity, I can just speak to right now what we have planned already and organizations that we've reached out to. So I've already been in contact with the Davis Legacy Soccer Club, and looking at sponsoring some of their events. And then as well as the Boy Scouts, we're looking at considering doing a summertime fundraiser for them as well. As far as any other charity, we haven't had really a plan at that at the moment, but we definitely are always looking for organizations in the community that are looking for donations. We've kind of always had the rule that if the organization is willing to ask, we're pretty much willing to help out in any way that we can. I think I answered all of the questions, but I'm not 100%. If I miss something, please raise your hand again so that I can get back to you.
Okay, it looks like our next question is from Stephanie.
Yes, we just wanted to say that we are in support. You want to say you like it?
I like it.
My son is very excited about having the dog wash to take the dogs too. So thank you for adding in the dog wash and the bike area as well for our community.
Thank you guys so much.
Excellent. The next question I see here is from Brandon.
Hi, this is Brandon. Just a couple of questions. One, how many car washes have you seen that are directly in front of a fire station? That would be the first one. The second one is, the amount of kids that are on that bike lane, and it is a safe route to school. That's a huge concern. Number two, there aren't plenty of car washes that are there. I get your picture. I see what you're going to do, and I'm definitely for it, but there's just too many concerns that go with it. Number three, it sounds like from the way you're speaking, which is good, to be very optimistic, but it sounds like you've already got this in the bag. And I don't think it's been to the Planning Commission. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Has it already been approved? Just by the way you're speaking, it sounds like you've already been approved and everything's good to go and you're going to start building at the end of March. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for the questions, Brandon. Car washes in front of a fire station. I can't think of any that I know off the top of my mind. I can definitely look further into that for you. Just with regards to the fire station across the street, we have been involved in discussions with the fire station, ensuring that our operation won't impede any of their keep clear lanes or their signal monitoring that they have in front of their station. And they are aware of the project plans and are supportive of the project as well. They don't feel that it will impact their ability to get in and get out. We actually looked at it as well when there are times when vehicles are stopped on Mace at that light. This actually gives them another point of exit to get out of emergency vehicles out of their way. The safe route to school, our kids' safety in our community is, and for us is number one. So that's one of the reasons we want to make sure that we're upgrading those bike lanes and providing those high visibility conflict areas. But also, we want to hear more from the community as well, so to know that to kind of work with the community members in what we can do to ensure that that is the safest area for them, and we make the proper improvements. With regard to the Planning Commission, so we go in front of the Planning Commission on March 9th. So we're just kind of making sure that we're doing our due diligence and preparing for that as well. So there is opportunity to submit comments all the way up until that Planning Commission on March 9th. Did I miss anything that was asked there? If I did, feel free to raise your hand again. And thank you very much for your questions.
Okay, the next question I see here is from Tashad.
Yes. Hi, thank you. I have two areas of concerns. The number one by far is the safety to our children. Have you visited the Cowell entrance and exit area between 2:30 and 3:30 in the afternoon on a Thursday or Friday? I appreciate the goal to improve the bike lanes, and our children are very good with the bike lanes. My concern is not our children in the bike lanes. It's going to be all of the cars. You just mentioned that the peak time for the car wash is between 2:30 and 3:30. And because of the proximity to 80, the entrance and exit, people not familiar with the area, you have children as young as 5 riding bikes. And the danger I feel that this will put them in is very significant, not to mention strangers in the area. You have large vacuum bays with very minimal staff. And, I think of loitering, I think of people hanging out. I feel that because of that intersection and what it looks like with our children, to put cars and people who aren't familiar with the neighborhood there really opens us up to quite a bit of danger and risks the safety of our children. I feel it worries me. If you were to put this car wash in, I would no longer allow my children to bike to school. I worry about stranger danger. I worry about all sorts of things. I don't let them bike to where 7-Eleven is. I don't let them go to that intersection because I see how it operates. So I appreciate the comps and the information you're sharing, but that area operates very differently than Cowell and Mace at this time. So I'm not sure if I would love to understand if you have visited during the prime biking times and observed how that behavior, is with the bikes. Second, I'd like to understand, after the business is closed, are you going to have lights on? Will lights be on all night like the car dealerships are along Kyle's Road? Is there going to be any security overnight? Will there be people moving in, or what's going to happen when it's unattended, in the evenings? And are the lights going to be on all night? And that's it. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much for the question. So kind of going to address that in order of importance. Number one is the children, and our number one priority in this community is to make sure everyone's safe. But most importantly, I think looking out for the children is a huge priority for us. Again, one of the reasons why we looked in doing those types of bike lanes, that high visibility, is to make sure that we're alerting both drivers and bikers that there is a ingress egress at that location. But we're also open to other ways that we can possibly make that safer. I have been out to the site between 2:30 and 3:30. I've also been out there between 7 and 9 a.m. I live right near the site, so I actually drive by it every day at various hours of the day. The question or comment that you had regarding proximity or people coming from the outside of the area. So what we've observed with car washes in general, and we feel it will apply to this wash as well, is that the vehicles that this car wash is washing are on Mace already. They're traveling and using Mace already. Like I mentioned in the presentation, an estimated 86% of the vehicles washed would live within 3 miles of the site, and then 95% within 5 miles of the site. And what we found is they typically don't just want to come to get their car washed. What generally happens is, I'm going to Nugget to get groceries, and then I'll stop on my way home to get the car wash. What we also found is that commuters tend not to want to stop in the middle of their commute for a car wash, as opposed to gas. It's kind of a necessity. They need to stop and get gas. They need to stop and get coffee or food. Whereas a car wash, they typically, if you're on your commute from San Francisco to West Sacramento or Roseville or something like that, the chances of you stopping and getting your vehicle washed in the middle of your commute is pretty slim. So we feel that majority of people will be familiar with this area in Davis. Additionally, I think you had a question regarding staff. So this express car wash actually has double the typical amount of staff that you would see at a Quick Quack. So there would be an attendant out at the vacuum areas at all times. There would be an attendant out at the pay station terminals at all times. There would also be an attendant at the tunnel at all times. It is, so currently, I've also been out at the site at evening hours as well. My parents live in the area as well as my grandparents. So I've been out there as late as 11 o'clock at night. And one thing I've noticed is currently there is no lights on that site. So it is a very dark area right now on that corridor. So yes, we would be putting in lights, and I believe our lighting plan is also up on the City of Davis website, but also being conscious that we are next to an apartment building. We've designed the lights to be focused away from the building and just on our site. We do have an alarm system as well planned to be installed, and everything that is used for vacuuming vehicles and washing vehicles is brought in and locked up inside every night. And additionally, we do have 24-hour or 24/7 surveillance on the site at all times. So that doesn't always, I have a camera in front of my house. It doesn't mean that person isn't going to try to break into the car in front of my house, but it does make it so I can react to it significantly quicker, right? And that's the same idea, so to make sure that we're able to contact the authorities as quick as possible. Again, I think I answered all of the comments and questions, but if I didn't, please feel free to raise your hand again as well. Thank you very much, Billy.
Okay, it looks like the next question I have here is from Jeremy.
Thanks. So I'm pretty stoked for this. I live within a mile. We go to other car wash places today, and to say the least, we're very excited for something new to come in. I have a slight bias because during my times at UC Davis, I was a crossing guard, but my question is kind of an idea. Would your company ever sponsor or in some way support a crossing guard being out there to help the kids? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jeremy. And yes, that is definitely something that we would definitely consider, particularly during those school hour commute hours for to and from school. And you know, what I've noticed being out there is that typically that's not on the Mace side, right? That's on the Cowell side. That's on their route to school. And so that's certainly something that we would consider doing. So I really appreciate that question and that comment as well. So thank you, Jeremy.
Okay, the next question I see here is from Jim.
Yes, hi, this is Jim Gray, and I've been a Davis resident since 1975, and I'm a commercial and investment real estate broker and developer. And my compliments go out to you, Tom and Evan. I find that what you're offering here is great design, a proper place for your intended use. This property for nearly 50 years has been zoned for auto-related activities. What you're proposing is both incorporates innovation, technology that should lead to a very good customer experience. You've made the case that this could be an environmentally preferred alternative in terms of your water and energy usage. Your planned improvements, and I think this should really be driven home to the neighbors, to the Planning Commission, to the City Council, that your improvements to the traffic lanes, to the bike lanes, installing the sidewalks along Cowell and Mace Boulevard, the bus improvements, they're all really good and will be valuable and will lead to better safety and visibility at the site. Clearly, you know your operational metrics, you know your business, and I think you've made a case that there's not very many negative impacts. And as you weigh the pros and cons of a weedy, undeveloped lot that's used 3 weeks a year versus the significant investment and improvements that you're going to make, you're doing a great job. You're very professional. You're all from the neighborhood. Good luck and thank you. And then to the question about the safety and our children, I learned a long time ago that Eyeball's commercial business activity creates a much safer environment for people and children than a unused lot that would attract, would not have the kind of focus that your intended commercial use would. So with that, I wish you the best and thank you for offering a good plan.
Thank you very much, Jim. We really appreciate that.
Okay, so just for those folks who do have their hand raised, it looks like we have about 8 hands. So I'm just going in the order that they were received. And it looks like our next question is from Sue. Sue, are you there? Okay, I think maybe I'll pause
Hello,
that. Oh, you're there. Excellent.
I'm there. Oh, Zoom is okay. Zoom is Zoom. I said thank you for the Q&A. I think it's great that people have an opportunity to ask the questions and voice their concerns. Mine is this. I'm interested in whether or not you as a group or whatever operate other businesses in Davis. And the reason for that is I think the longtime residents look at how businesses perform in terms of customer service, in terms of sticking to hours, in terms of following through with the commitments that it sounds like you've put a lot of work and thought into. Um, are there other businesses in town that the group operates that might have been around for some time that we could reference in terms of saying, you know, yeah, this business operates well, it follows through, customer service is great. If there are complaints or issues that either residents or customers raise, it's taken care of. That's the reason for my question. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Sue. We don't currently operate any businesses in Davis, but I do have several businesses located in the Sacramento area.
I see.
And those are called Oil Stop Drive-Through Oil Change. I have 4 locations, one in Fair Oaks, one in Elk Grove, one in Lodi, and one in Roseville, and one I will be starting construction on soon in Rockland. And those businesses I have operated for 20 years. And, you know, I would invite you to, if you're concerned, go on to the Yelp pages of those businesses, and you'll get a good feel for the level of service that we've been providing in those stores for 20 years. I can tell you that I think they're successful, but you know, I'd rather hear from you what you think.
Sure. Well, can I ask a specific then? You're not affiliated with the oil changers here in Davis?
Absolutely not.
Okay. Sounds good. I will check Yelp. Thank you for the suggestion.
Okay. You're welcome. And thank you for the question, Sue.
You bet.
Okay, it looks like our next question is from Jason.
Hi, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yep, loud and clear.
Oh, perfect. Very first thing is I happen to actually get my oil changed at Oil Stop at the Fair Oaks location. So I think that's an outstanding frame of reference for me. Sue, I would absolutely recommend the next time you need an oil change, go there. You'll never go anywhere else, and it's probably a 40-minute drive from here. Just amazing. I've donated to Shriners Children's Hospital through them. I think I give $10 every time I go in. It's an experience I can't even describe. So if you operate your car wash business like you operate the oil change business, I know that the kids in the area will be in great hands. One time I was getting my oil change and I watched 3 staff members run out into the street to help somebody who had a flat tire just because they're good members of the community. It's just an experience. But my wife and I live in the area. We live off of Mace Boulevard. We go to the Nugget 3 to 5 times a day, or 3 to 5 times a week. Nugget would love us if it was 3 to 5 times a day. So we frequent that area a lot. We're really excited because right now we currently go to Sacramento or Woodland for our car washes. So this will actually help us reduce the amount of time we're driving around. Really love the environmental component to what you guys are doing. I think it's outstanding, the amount of water that gets recycled relative to anything else that's available to us. The bike safety is an absolute concern, I think, for a lot of people. It sounds like it's the biggest thing. I did read your traffic study. I did notice that the findings of the 50-something page traffic study is that they don't anticipate any noticeable effect on the current traffic flows. So unfortunately, yes, Thursdays and Fridays are Thursdays and Fridays there, but it's not like you're drawing people in. And I know personally, I don't stop on my commute home from Sacramento to get my car washed. I do it midday when my boss isn't around and I can sneak out of the office for a little bit. So I think you've done a lot in terms of your vision for what that bike safety means to the people in this area. And, my wife and I experienced with Davis. And one of the reasons we moved here was because we have a son who biked to Korematsu in elementary, and then now bikes to Harper. We love that aspect, and Davis has to be, if it isn't the most safest bike town in California, it's got to be in the top 4. So I think everybody is just absolutely hyper vigilant in this town, which is awesome. And it is that community concern. So we're just really excited for your guys' project, and can't wait to sign up for the monthly pass. I think that's awesome. And I like the fact that you guys are local. So our local money will maintain in this local economy, as opposed to a big box retailer like a Quick Quack, who is all over the place, California, Arizona, who knows where their money goes. But keeping local money local is a huge part of responsible development, and I think that's a big priority for Davis. So thank you guys, and we're looking forward to it.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Jason. We appreciate that.
Thank you, Jason.
Okay. The next question it looks like we have here is Todd.
Yeah, hi. My name's Todd Edelman. First, just briefly about process. It's ideal that in a Zoom meeting that it kind of can make the best of what's available technology and also in person, and that enables us to see who else is in the meeting and to know, at least know how many people are here, and to be able to, kind of talk to each other via chat. I noticed that the chat's off. That's disappointing in a community meeting. Important emphasis on the word community. And second, it would be nice to know how many people are in attendance. And so as far as content goes, I appreciate the explanation about the design of the vacuum. Number one, I'd like to know exactly how it contains all the extremely toxic microparticulates we know about, especially, if all these cars and all these bays are coming back from someplace where it was dusty after a fire and so on. And also specifically, if you have an example of that type of exact or almost the same type of facility that uses the type of vacuum system, so we can just see how noisy it is. About the traffic safety, I noticed that the traffic study doesn't mention Pioneer at all. It really barely even mentions schools at all. And your plan there is to basically upgrade the street to what's required for when there's repaving of a street, as far as the paint and stuff. So that's great. It's not going beyond what's required for any time there's repaving. I don't really see what you're doing to improve that situation for bikes, except for saying that the claiming, it seems probably accurately, that people be going there will be familiar, which does make a difference. And lastly, also about the traffic study, I don't understand how your the traffic study proposes mitigations for the intersection, and that's overlapping with the MACE redesign project. Those things could happen at the same time. You're asking the Planning Commission to approve things that a couple weeks later, the council will be approving the same things for a different project and then asking it to come back to the council. So I'm not sure exactly how that came about, if staff didn't prepare you enough or whatever. But if you could address some of that, it'd be great. Hopefully I don't have more questions afterwards. Thanks again.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for the questions, Todd. So starting with the vacuums, so again, the vacuum producer, which creates the suction of the vacuum, is located in an equipment room with sound dampening material around it, as well as a silencer muffler. And then all of the vacuum nozzles feed to a suction line into the vacuum collector. And so it's kind of twofold. One, that's the best way to collect dust, dirt, and debris. but also it's necessary to actually protect the vacuum producer itself. So again, looking at a typical home vacuum, if you were to pull the filter out of that vacuum and continue vacuuming on, your vacuum's not going to last very long. So there is a micron filter that helps collect a lot of that dust, dirt, and debris, and that's channeled through, I believe they're PVC piping that lead back to that vacuum. And so it is all collected there, as well as it being contained in a room. So it really doesn't offer an ability for it to spread out into the environment, regardless of what is being vacuumed up. I just want to go back to my notes on the question. Sorry, I lost my page real quick. The noise of the vacuums. You know, to be honest with you, I have actually never seen an express car wash contain their vacuum producer and vacuum separator. I've had the privilege now to tour, gosh, over 100 plus express car washes. And this is kind of the first time that we've seen that be contained. Normally, you know, at the Quick Quacks, for example, in West Sacramento, that is outdoors. It might have a structure around it, but it's not completely contained like that. And we did that intentionally to limit the amount of noise. And so looking at our noise study, we found that the loudest noise would be the suction noise coming out of, or coming from the vacuum nozzle itself. And that is only when that vacuum is in use. So when they're done, they're hung up in that, and on their storage rack, they're actually pressed up against the mat, so it stops the suction from happening when it's not in use. Trying to see what, I'm sorry, I got kind of mixed up with some of the comments and then what was questions, but I think I might have gotten to everything there, or and if I didn't, please stick around. But thank you very much for the questions.
Okay, the next question I see here is from Betsy.
Hi, guys. Can you hear me okay?
I can, yes. Hi, welcome.
Thank you. Great presentation, and thank you for having this community meeting. I certainly appreciate that. I am a trustee on DJUSD school board, and I also live back in the Warmington home area. So I do, and my children did attend Pioneer as well. I have a question and then I have a comment. My question is, if you are at Nugget or Starbucks and decide to get your car washed, what is the route that you would take to enter the car wash from the west side of Mace? And then my comment is by far the feedback that I've gotten in my position is just the counterintuitive nature of a driveway that's going to both exit and enter the business across, bike to safely to school bike lane that, has just also was part of the reconstruction of that intersection based on biking safely to school. So it's just, I think that's the bigger, I think that is the biggest issue. The business is awesome. You guys are obviously, great corporate citizens to the community. I have no doubt that your interest in keeping the children safe is paramount. However, these are our youngest bike riders, are of the least life experience, that are approaching a large intersection that already has like a separate lane for bikes and a separate lane for pedestrians. And so there's already a lot of brain energy that's going on with these littles as they approach that particular intersection. I think crossing that intersection versus and entering and or exiting safely with cyclists, certainly between 2:30 and 3:30, as well as on wacky Wednesdays when school dismisses at 1:30, and then we have holiday days. So it's a varying schedule as a challenge for you guys to help. So I definitely feel like, as a representative, I would have to speak out for larger mitigations on traffic management right there, simply because it inherently, green stripes are not going to keep a group of kids that just got out of fourth grade and are talking about, their science project on the way home to take notice. It's just not going to be enough. So that's my concern. I'm not sure what all the strategies are that could be proposed, but I certainly would need more and hope that we can have more dialogue about what those would be. Thanks, guys.
Yes, thank you so
Thank you.
much. I think definitely brought up some great points, and we share that concern as well, right? We definitely, I think, want to open this up for more dialogue and hear kind of some ideas and ways that we can mitigate that as best as possible. I appreciate, I believe his name was Jeremy, bringing up the idea of a crossing guard there during school commute hours. I think that's a great idea, because that's, before even more important than the business, right, is the safety of our kids. And again, I'm a father of two, and my young boys, we're over in the Nugget parking lot, or going to Nugget. We ride our bikes over there. We ride our bikes over to my parents' and grandparents' house, also off of Cal. And so doing what we can do to make sure that is the safest possible area on Cal that we can make it, right? And so I just want you to know that I share that concern with you. And I would love to discuss that more and kind of go through some ideas on ways that we can make that even better. So I do appreciate that. I did want to address the turn out of the Nugget Shopping Center. And as far as I know, that you can make a left-hand turn out of that Nugget Shopping Center and make a right turn into the Mace entrance of the car wash, if you so choose. I haven't seen anything that would restrict that movement as of right now. But so again, thank you so much for the questions and the comments.
Okay, again, going in the order here, we've got a few hands. Let's see. The next one we have is Jacob.
Yes, I just wanted to voice the fact that I'm very excited about this project and the service that we'll bring to the community. I live down the street and would love to get my car washed conveniently in that area. My children also attend Pioneer Elementary and ride their bikes across the Cowell and Mace intersection. And from everything that I've read and seen on your plans, you're doing nothing but improving the safety of the children riding bikes across that intersection. And given the proximity of cars leaving your ingress on Cowell, the proximity to the stoplight there at Cowell and Mace, I do not foresee an issue of cars speeding in and out of there, just mainly the fact that there is a light so close to it. So I just want to thank you. Hopefully the project is approved, and we look forward to utilizing the business and the improvements that you will be making to the existing infrastructure and the safety of kids riding bikes on that intersection.
Thank you, Jacob.
Yeah, thank you very much, Jacob.
Okay, it looks like the next hand I have here is from Janet.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear. How are you tonight?
I'm very well, thank you. I do think you have an excellent business plan. I would like to get my car washed, but I live on Cowell Boulevard, really quite close to Nugget. And getting out of my driveway at peak times is impossible because cars are lined up bumper to bumper because they can't get on to Mace. With you increasing the number of cars in that area, for me, it's a disaster. So I don't approve of you taking over that lot, even though you have an excellent plan. Because I think the traffic in that area between 3:30 on Mace, between 3:30 and 6 is unbelievable. And getting a car in and out on your in and out exit on Mace. And do you have, one question I do have, do you have an exit, an entrance on Cowell, or is it just an exit? It wasn't clear on your plan. And if you do have an entrance and an exit, that's going to even compound the problem even more for people who are coming from Pioneer, etc. And I do agree with some of the comments about the safety of the children, because I see children going up and down my street all the time. And I think it's a disaster to increase the number of cars by having a car wash at that lot. So just wanted to let you know my opinion living in the area.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that. So to answer the question that was there, yes, it's an ingress egress on Cowell and an ingress egress on Mace. The Mace is a right-in, right-out only. We do foresee the overwhelming majority of our vehicles coming in and out through the Mace Boulevard ingress egress, or the majority of those vehicles. You did mention that peak time and when that's backed up. That typically tends to correspond with when we're starting to slow down in the evenings. So I just wanted to make sure that was brought up as well. And then again, definitely share anybody's concern that has, when it comes to child safety, that's a number one priority for this project, and really, I think should be in anything that we do. So thank you very much for the question and comment.
Okay, it looks like the next question is from Tiffany.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, how are you this evening?
Great. So yes, I'm Tiffany. I live less than a block away from that intersection. I'm also a parent at Pioneer. I'm active at the school. And I'm so glad that you've been there in that corridor, in that intersection, because a couple of years ago, I even did crossing guard in that area because of the safety of our kiddos. And we weren't having enough crossing guard personnel there. So I've definitely seen close calls. I've definitely seen accidents. And I feel in my heart of hearts that adding one more variable to that intersection is just dangerous. And if you are thinking about really protecting our kids, which is fantastic, then you wouldn't add one more variable to that already congested landscape. I've been curious if you guys have looked at other sites. I was thinking of Target. If you guys don't have to be right by the freeway and you're still servicing people or neighbors from 3 to 5 miles away, there's no need to be right there. I cannot stress that enough. I think it's, again, fantastic. As a business major, I love all of the business plan. I love the environmental aspect. I love the improvements. The improvements should be done by our city though, and not from a business, because those improvements have been needed and they really messed up Mace as it was. But my question really is, are there other sites that you have looked at? And are those sites then not in corridors where our children are at? Or gosh, just that whole congestion that happens. I know people are talking about Thursday and Friday, but I'm there every day. And so it really is in the afternoons, pretty much the 5 days a week, it's congested. So I love the business. I just don't think it should be right there. So that was my question. And then I know that you may have not heard another gentleman. He asked how many people were on the Zoom call. And I don't know if you had answered that question. So thank you.
Thank you so much. So we'll, since it was asked previously, let me go ahead and check. It looks like currently there are 41 participants on the Zoom call as of right now. I do thank you again for that input and that perspective there. With regards to other sites that we've looked at. So yeah, I've been working on this particular project for an express car wash for, gosh, almost 4 years now, I believe. And yes, I have explored several other sites and ran into everything from they aren't for sale. Nobody wants to lease that property. It's not zoned properly for the use. Yes, I have looked at the Target, particularly, I guess that would be the south side of the Target parking lot. Unfortunately, the developer is unable to split that lot and was not interested in undertaking that. We also looked a little bit further up on 2nd Street near the Chevron gas station, and same thing, the land is not for sale and not for lease, and it's also not zoned for automotive use. And from my understanding and my research, this is one of the only automotive zoned properties that is currently vacant. Yes, I've definitely been looking as much as I can to any viable site. I'd always be willing to explore it. We do feel that this site, based on its dimensions, its size, location, its zoning, we do feel that this is a very good use for that site and for our project. So thank you very much for your questions and also your perspective on that. Thank you.
Okay, the next question I see here is from Elizabeth.
Hello. First, I'd just like to thank you for putting on this meeting, the opportunity to get some further insight into the project and to ask questions or provide comments. You did a very thorough job. It's clear that you've spent a lot of time researching this and putting a lot of thought and effort into the project. And from the presentation, I was able to get all of my questions answered. So I just wanted to provide a little feedback. I drive through that intersection multiple times a day. I'm frequently in that part of town. And I think it would be a very valuable business or addition to that neighborhood right now. That lot is very unsightly. It's unkempt. It's not being used at all. And I think to have a car wash there would be a appropriate use for that land based in that location. It's also a business that I myself and my husband would frequent. As I said, we are driving through that intersection multiple times a day. We wouldn't be bringing new traffic to the area. We'd be people who are already in the area who would be stopping by and using your business. And I think a lot of our friends and family members that are also driving through that intersection frequently would be similar customers, not new traffic to the area, but just people already in the area coming to your business. So again, thank you for putting on a very thorough presentation and providing the opportunity for questions and comments. And I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. And yeah, it would be our pleasure to serve this community as well. So we appreciate that.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Okay, the next question I see here is from Bob.
Hi, it's Bob and Melissa, and we live east of Mace, and we are in support of this car wash. Just a couple of things that this came to mind in hearing other people. I can't imagine anybody in Davis coming to this side of town on a Thursday or Friday to use a car wash. Sorry, I may be planning for that business, but I can't imagine anybody in their right mind fighting the traffic to come here. So I don't know if that's going to even add any more traffic to the area. And also, I do appreciate trying to look out for the safety of the children. I bike to work on campus, and it's actually more dangerous with the parents from Pioneer driving through our neighborhood. I can't tell you the number of times I've almost gotten hit by them, and seeing kids almost getting hit by the parents driving their kids to Pioneer. So a lot of the traffic that we do talk about is from the parents driving their kids right around that time in the morning and in the afternoon. I do appreciate that if there would, it would be nice to have a second crossing guard, because the guard that is there now currently serves the kids going to and from Pioneer, but not the kids leaving our neighborhood and going to other schools. So that would be a nice thing, but I think this would be a great improvement. It fits the use. It wouldn't have to be rezoned, and I look forward to using it. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your comments. So we really appreciate that, and we look forward to serving you as well.
Okay, the next question I see here is from Sabrina.
Hi. I think that this is such a great idea, and just being a community member, not having to drive to a different city to wash my car is exciting in itself. Also, I think that one thing that some people are overlooking is employment, that people are going to be able to get employment in their own city. They don't have to go outside to look for jobs anywhere else. And I think that that's important as well. So I just wanted to jump on and just say thank you for, this opportunity to have us be able to wash our cars in our own town.
Yes, thank you so much, Sabrina. We appreciate that.
Okay, I think now we're getting close to the end. I think we have another, is this a second question from Tashawn?
Yes, hi, thank you. I just wanted to follow up to an earlier question about the traffic study, and I did have a chance to pull it up, and it looks like you guys did a great evaluation of a lot of the different intersections, but I didn't see the cowl entrance and exit marked. And is that something you guys would consider looking at as part of a traffic study to really estimate that intersection? And is there an option to not have that entrance at all, so that you only have the mace and you don't have the cowl? Because I know with that intersection, I can imagine people coming out trying to race the light, different things like that. If that was closed, and I understand the crossing guards, but to the previous speaker's point, there are middle school students. There's a lot of different times kids on bikes are passing through the area, going to and from the middle schools as well. So that was a great reminder. But if there's a way to sort of do an evaluation or study and add it, just because I did notice that it wasn't identified as part of your original evaluation.
I would have to look at that traffic study again. So I'm kind of confused. Are you asking if the intersection at Mace Boulevard and Cowell was
No, so you definitely had Mace and Cowell, that intersection, but the Cowell exit is back towards where the apartments are, if I looked at it correctly, which is before you get to that approach. So the cars that are going to be coming out, which is where the kids are, that if, and there was a previous speaker who also said, Pioneer wasn't mentioned in terms of the traffic evaluation with bikes. It was only done with cars. So is there a way to do a study around the kids on bikes, the timing, that particular entrance and exit? And if there's an opportunity to, and I know you were asking for certain suggestions, but to maybe not even have that as a point of entrance or exit from the car wash and just have the maze.
Yeah, it's definitely something that we can consider and look further into on the study. And I appreciate that feedback. I'm just trying to glance real quick and see. So it looks like the study was pulled, data was pulled on 2 different days, and it notes that UC Davis and school was in session when they did the study. So I'm just make sure I'm understanding that properly. But I you know what, I think that we can't look into that aspect of it enough. With regards to the single ingress egress, the feedback that we got from that on the city was that would create too much of a potential to back up cars on the site, and offering that second option. So Mace Boulevard would be our main ingress egress, whereas Cal would be a kind of a secondary ingress egress. The concern was that that would have the potential to limit the amount of vehicles that can get out at any given time, and only giving one point of entrance and exit. But I definitely can follow up and see exactly how that would look and how that study would look as well. So I appreciate the comment.
Thank you.
Okay, so just so we're mindful of the time here. It looks like we're now pretty close to getting. If anyone has questions at this point, we have a few. Please raise your hand just so we kind of know how long to expect. And I know we're getting here a little bit later into the evening, so we want to make sure everybody gets a chance, including for some of these second questions. So, but if you have something, please raise your hand now so we can make sure we get you fit in. Which gets us to the next question I see here. Looks like maybe a second question from Erica.
Hi, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I appreciate this, by the way. I should have mentioned that the first time. Thank you for taking the time to listen to our community. I am also actually a small business owner myself, and in thinking about your approach and your model and how you're projecting business, I can't help but wonder about the comps that you're looking at. So you cited Quick Quack and Sparkles, both in very different sort of areas than this on Mace and Cowell. So you're looking at comps that are near major strip malls with lots of other chains. And it sounds like you have familiarity with the area, but I would be so sad for our community if you went through all of this development, and which is obviously going to be quite an undertaking financially, but also traffic wise for our community, for the construction side, which was another question I had. But I'm just wondering about the comps that you did. Did you look at any like Planet Wash in West Davis or Cable Car Wash? Did you look at any of those that are more in residential areas to project peak times, to project number of cars? I think it would probably be beneficial just for your business. So that's point one. The other point is that you might know this, but Davis is really interesting with businesses that are embraced by the community, and not just like on an emotional safety level like a lot of us parents are talking about. But I can cite 5 or 6 local kind of Sacramento based businesses that failed. So Hot Italian is one. There was a bagel chain from Sacramento that failed. Local nail salons in El Macero failed. And I don't know why. And to be honest, like, I'm a South Davis resident, and there's so many things that I wish we had, and I don't know why things fail, but just a caution on, it's a weird place and I'm not sure what the ingredients for success are. But if I was in your shoes, just as a business, putting on my business hat, I would look at comps that are more residentially rooted, like those that I cited. And I have to echo what Tiffany and Tishan said about looking at other locations. It sounds like you already did look at other locations, but that area over by Target and 5th Street, I mean, 2nd Street, there's so many other places. We would all love to have a car wash in Davis, for sure. But it's that corner that is just so problematic, as I'm sure you're hearing. And I want to echo that I think closing off the Cowell entrance and exit would be an amazing solution that I think would help the community be much more excited about this project as a whole.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you very much, Erica, and I appreciate the concern and also the idea of looking at other sites. Again, we really have been exploring these sites for several years now, and unfortunately, just about everyone you mentioned isn't available or zoned properly for this use. And then as far as looking at comps, so we chose these because they were express car washes. So Planet Wash in West Davis is a different style of car wash. And then Cable Car Wash, again, is also a different style of car wash. And they also fluctuate their hours. So when I looked at Cable Car Washes, it was very hard to determine what a natural peak hour would be, because they close during the lunch period, and then they also have a couple days in the week that they close. So it wasn't very comparable, as opposed to these that have very similar hours, as well as a similar wash model. And so it was, those were why those were selected. I've also looked at countless other, all the way up to Folsom, Quick Quack. I actually recently went up to Vancouver, Washington to look and work in a car wash as well. And it kind of examined those peak hours as well. And it, at the express car wash model, it just seems to fit that kind of bell curve as terms of peak hours. You know, slower in the morning, busier in the afternoon, slow down in the evening. They all seem to kind of follow that same pattern regularly. I never actually came out to a reason why it was like that, but I just kept pulling that data and talking with owners and even working in some car washes briefly, and just really trying to learn the business, but also pay attention to that. And it just kind of stuck, that pattern stuck really, really well. The idea on potentially closing off Cowell, that Cowell Ingress, Egress, particularly during school commute times, that is something we could consider as well. Again, I know that the city had some concerns with only having one entrance available, not only just for our traffic, but for emergency vehicles as well. If there's a backup there and cars can't get out of the way, it does present a concern for them as well. But definitely something I think we will be exploring. So I appreciate the questions and comments.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. The next, it looks like there's a couple of new questions, folks who haven't had a chance to speak yet. So let me see a hand from Rachel. Rachel, are you there? Okay, maybe we'll take a second and we'll get back to Rachel. The next hand I see is Shara.
Hi. A couple of things. I've heard several people talking about the addition of a crossing guard. I see crossing guards there a lot. And kids don't pay any attention to the crossing guard till they get actually to the crosswalk. So that has nothing to do or any influence on what they're doing approaching that intersection in the bike lanes, which would be going right through your egress, ingress on Cowell. I have a real question about the fire department. You worked with the East Davis Fire Protection District Commission or just the fire department? And have you also run it by Nugget, Starbuck, Huku, Guadalajara, all of the businesses that are impacted by the mess at that intersection? Needless to say, I'm really not in favor of this, but thanks for taking the time.
Yes, thank you very much for the, when I had it in mind with the crossing guard was, I thought that would be on our site, stopping cars when the bikes were coming through was how I pictured that, but I would definitely explore if maybe I'm not understanding that totally properly, but it more to be stop the vehicles from entering and exiting while bikes are traveling through. And then with regards to the Davis Fire Department, I believe that was the chief of the fire department that attended our first meeting. And then from my understanding, also when we submit plans, it's also available for their review as well. They did initially, I believe, have some concerns with that Mace Boulevard ingress egress because it on our first plan design, it was a little bit further south, closer to their keep clear. So as we move that as far as possible on the site, that kind of alleviated their concerns with it. So we would actually be the second, the Nugget Market actually has a closer ingress egress. So we would be further north than that on the site. So yeah, again, I believe it was the chief of the Davis Fire Department who reviewed that, but I can definitely confirm that as well. Thank you very much for your question.
Wait, I'm sorry, I had a follow-up. So you did not work or check with the East Davis Fire Protection District Commission, which is the commission that represents all of East Davis, not the fire chief, the commission. And my big question is, I don't even see people stopping in the keep clear section that they're supposed to keep clear. And as a past member of that commission, I can't believe that they were contacted and that they would approve it. That's my query.
Yeah, again, I believe it was the chief, the fire chief of the city of Davis. But I will definitely review my notes and confirm that for you as well. The keep clear that is in front of the city of Davis or the South Davis fire station there, there's no improvement plans from our project or impact on that from our project, was my understanding.
Okay, let's see. Let's try again for Rachel if she's there now.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear. How are you tonight?
Okay, sorry about that earlier. I'm good, thank you. I just wanted to add my comment in. I'm excited about the dog wash, especially with the new dog park out there on Mace Boulevard, which we happen to frequent at least once a week when it's open. So the dog wash right there by the dog park makes perfect sense. And the car wash to me is just an added bonus. So thank you and good luck to you guys.
Thank you so much, Rachel.
Thank you, Rachel.
Okay, moving on to the next one. I think we're getting down here toward the end. I'm going to try to make sure we get the folks who have not had a chance yet. I see one from it says Wilcox. Are the Wilcoxes there?
I'm here.
Perfect.
Hi there. Thank you for having this meeting. I live a block away from this proposal, and I have a number of concerns about this project. I, like many people that have been speaking tonight, I'm a longtime Davisite, have children that went through through the Davis schools and both attended Pioneer, and now I have grandchildren who attend the school. So I am back and forth schlepping kids and go through that intersection almost every day. And my main concerns are the fact, and other people have spoken to this, Tiffany and Erica specifically talked about it, Janet talked about it, the fact that the Mace mess is not fixed. And so far the proposals I've seen, you know, they might improve some things, but I'm not real optimistic that that intersection is going to see enough of an improvement that we wouldn't continue to see angry drivers in that area. And I mean, having now lived through many, many months of observing how people behave in that intersection, it's really rather frightening at times when people get angry. And you know, I live just right around the corner, so I hear the honking and if I'm out on the street, I see frequently how people get very, very annoyed. And if there are kids in those bike lanes, I've seen cars jump the jump the curb and use the bike lanes and some other really crazy things. So I'm concerned that we're adding a car wash to a situation where we haven't already fixed the problems that exist, and not real comfortable adding one more thing prior to repairing the problems that are already there. If this business goes forward, and it sounds like everyone else has said, and it sounds like it's a perfectly solid business plan, and they've done their research and they're solid citizens, then if we're going to need to deal with the increased problems for the children on their bikes, this idea that addressing the egress there on Cowell seems like the best bet. And I agree that having only one entrance and exit would probably cause some more safety issues. So I would propose that it might be that during those hours when kids are in there, they just close the egress to that, to the car wash during those hours. I'm not sure that a crossing guard at that spot would be reliable enough. I'm trying to get people to take those kinds of jobs, and that seems like it has a little bit more potential for error there. So I guess those are my comments. So thank you for hearing me out.
Yeah, thank you very much for sharing. We appreciate it.
Okay, so we're moving along here. It looks like we have a second comment from Todd.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for taking a second comment, and thanks other participants for reminding the hosts of my unanswered questions. So the suggestion to close egress on Cowell is interesting, but then how does that, you know, a dynamic crossing that's open sometimes and closed at others, how does that actually work in the real world? Also, I see that you intend that as a secondary egress, but I'm not sure exactly how, you know, people's patterns will actually you know, facilitate your wish, because of course, if during a red light, people can maybe make a right there and then make a left into the into that driveway. You know, out of that driveway, there's right now, that without any physical changes, there's the possibility to turn left, even make a quick U into the apartment complex next door where I live, or to make a right into a left turn lane to go south, to go straight west on Cowell, or to make a right onto northbound Mace. There's just a lot of different things, and I don't see exactly how a crossing guard or who has to control traffic coming in and out. One of the mitigations was a left turn pocket from eastbound Cowell and into the thing, how they would be in the middle of the street blocking all these cars at different times. And that's just one question. The second about process, you said that you want to continue the dialogue. I don't understand. You said you're open up for more dialogue. I'm wondering when that's going to happen. If the next plan thing is on the 9th, the planning commission hearing. And second, kind of about the business thing, there's another car wash that's coming up to the planning commission maybe in a month or 6 weeks. That's right next door. The one Egress is immediately north of your right turn from onto Mace. That I read about that in the Davis site, just published this evening. That's the center for, I think, 4810 Cowell. That's right next door. It's another car wash. And again, the traffic study has mitigations that seem overlapped on top of things they're planning to vote on for the Mace project. And I don't understand how that's possible. That's a processing the city should deal with. I'm not blaming you. And about Target, if the sole thing that's getting in the way there is some kind of formal problem, it seems like the city agreed to design the lot that way. The south side of the lot is continuously empty, and any traffic coming from the south or down, Alhambra and so on is not going to, or Second rather, is not going to go across any traffic patterns of vulnerable people on bikes and so on. So I'm sorry, the very last thing, I'm sorry, the vacuums have a filter that protects the motor for inputs, but the HEPA filters, like on the home vacuums, are for exhaust air. And that's what I'm curious about, which I mentioned before in the article, is the exhaust. Is that actually going to have filtration from microparticulates? And is the equipment that you're planning to get, which I appreciate you're planning to use in a unique way, does that actually filter the microparticulates from the exhaust of the 21 bays being used? So I know that's a lot. Do your best. Thanks again.
Yeah, thank you, Todd, and I appreciate the questions. So with regards to keeping this open for dialogue, again, davisexpresswash@gmail.com. Please feel free to send questions, comments, concerns to that email address, and then that's how I can continue the dialogue with input from the public. With regards to the project at 48010, I believe you're referring to the Chiles Road, the Valero on Chiles. I'm somewhat aware of that project, and it's just a completely different style of car wash in general. I don't know where they're at in that project. I do know we did reach out to them to share that ingress and egress that they have on Mace Boulevard, or onto Mace Boulevard, and they, and rightfully so, they decided not to go ahead with that, and they weren't interested in that sharing of the driveway. And again, that's totally within their rights. The Mace improvement project, so the same traffic engineers that performed our traffic study are also involved in helping the redesign of Mace Boulevard. And so although that redesign wasn't complete when they were doing our traffic study, they did have an idea of what would be going into that proposal and what is in that current proposal now that has been made public. And ultimately, I don't believe anything from our project has any impact one way or the other on what gets done on that project. From my understanding, they're two completely separate improvement plans. I do know at one point that they had recommended allowing a U-turn at Mace Boulevard if you're heading south on Mace. That's actually been removed as a recommendation for our project in the city's current report that's available online on the city's project webpage for our project. The Target parking lot, as far as I know, that is private property. We approached the development team that was in charge of that, and they had no interest in separating or breaking off that piece of parcel. I know exactly what you're talking about on that south side of Target. Same thing. I looked at it all the time saying, wow, that's just sitting empty most of the time. It should be put to use. However, you know, after several attempts, I have not been able to ever get a real response back that they'd be interested in doing that. Regarding the vacuums, so there is what's called a vacuum separator. So that actually is before it enters the vacuum producer. So the lines, I guess, would just go from the car through the hose to there. So you're vacuuming out your car, you're sucking up things, right? It's sucking in, it goes through the line. The line then runs into the building, the wash building, and then it meets the separator with the micron filter there first before hitting the vacuum producer. So any exhaust from that vacuum producer is already been filtered before any air has been entered into it. And again, that's also contained, completely contained. Typically at express car washes, that's out in the open, but we chose to contain that completely to help and mitigate any sound that it would produce. Again, I'm really sorry if I'm missing anything. Feel free to email that Davis Express wash, and I can continue or answer anything that I didn't cover there. But I appreciate your questions and your concern, and yeah, thank you very much.
Okay, it looks like we have 3 more hands. So the next one here is Susan.
Hi there, my name is Susan, and I live just off of Mace. And, you know, I have to really disagree that what you just said about the improvements, so-called improvements they're going to do to fix Mace have nothing to do with you. I could not disagree more, because we are on the same street, we are connected, and the traffic that you propose will happen is going to affect the rest of Mace. I'm one of those poor unfortunates that when the Mace when the improvements, quote improvements, were initially made, I hit one of the cement barriers and broke my arm and have 10 screws in my arm now. There's no doubt that there's a lot of work that needs to be done on Mace. And I agree with the Wilcox family that we're not done with that part. And it just seems like your project is the wrong time to to try to add to this debacle that we're already in. We need to fix Mace. We need to get it back to where it was, or at least in a better place than it is now, before any more traffic or any more impediments are confused in this. And, you know, you mentioned about the Starbucks entrance. I mean, yeah, how many times do we see Starbucks looped around on Mace trying to get into Starbucks? I don't see that, first of all, we need better striping, and that's the city's responsibility. But you're only adding to that confusion. It's not that clear cut. And, you know, I appreciate your plan. I really do. I love the sidewalks. I love the infrastructure that you're proposing. But, you know, a lot of that is the city's responsibility to better stripe that area. And they can do that. And you mentioned also that you've looked at other places, and I get that. But I urge you to look again, because Mace is just a mess right now. We don't need to add to what's already a really difficult venue. And until I-80 gets fixed, until Mace gets fixed, we don't need more traffic, more cars, more ins, more outs. And I'm sorry, you know, I'm pretty emphatic, but I live here and I drive this thoroughway all the time as well. And I respect what you're doing. I think you have good business plan. You've also got a great PR firm behind you. But please consider just either delaying until Mace gets fixed or finding another location. There's got to be another one. And my question after this is, what are you going to do with the comments tonight? I'm really curious if these are just going to go out into La La Land, or how will you take in the comments from the public tonight? Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you very much, Susan. First off, I'm sorry to hear that you experienced that on Mace Boulevard with the accident. It does. I know with the curbing on those bike lanes, it's very hard. Like I said, I have a son. We ride our bikes down there sometimes, and he's still learning how to ride his bike. He's 4 years old, and it just creates a very, very difficult situation there. And that's one of the reasons I think we looked at that and on the bike lanes that we are going to be improving. We don't think that curbage is necessarily the best. And that's kind of some of the input that I've been hearing from the community on the Mace Boulevard Improvement Project. And then again, with regards to the Mace Boulevard, I apologize that that is how I came off if I said it has nothing to do. Clearly, we all, in a small town like this, but specifically in a small area of this town, everything impacts everything, right? That's part of being a community. So that's not how I intended that to come off if I did. What I meant by that is that the improvements that we have planned tie in, but they're not, it's not like a do these or do that or do that and or don't do this type of situation. They're not contingent on each other. And so I just want to make sure that I clarified that. And then with regard to what we're going to be doing with comments received here tonight. So I'm going to be reviewing again, starting tomorrow, all the comments that we received and really just taking them to heart and considering what, we can do with our project, not just to make it better for us as a business, but better for the community in general. So, I'm really hearing that feedback on that the concern with the CAL Ingress, Egress, and I appreciate everybody who has put forward ideas on how to make that better. So that's what I intend to do with the comments that I've received tonight. And I hope that's what you're meaning. And again, I'd also encourage anybody who has additional comments to please send them to the davisexpresswash@gmail. That would be very, very helpful for me. So thank you very much, Susan, for your input as well.
Okay, it appears we are down to the final two questions. I'd like to see if Jerry would like to ask another question.
Yes, I would. Thank you very much. Interesting presentation. I would have to say that I've lived here in this close by forever, and my feelings are almost identical to Susan's. I thought she was extremely well spoken, and she hit most of the major points. It's a mess there. But I had just a couple questions. One, my daughter wanted me to ask, how much are you going to pay your employees? And are you going to pay them enough so that they can actually live in Davis? The second question is, your use is not a permitted use in that zone. And so that's why you're trying to get a conditional use permit. And you could get a conditional use permit by Target or, or someplace else. And then the third question or comment was, I believe you said you don't have a lease and you don't own the property. So I guess the question is, who is requesting the conditional use permit? Is it you or is it somebody else? So the questions are regarding the wages and the use permit, and who's asking for the conditional use permit. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Glazer. So how much we pay our employees. So it's very important for us in our businesses to make sure that we are providing a living wage for people. And so that's not a minimum wage, that's a living wage. As of right now, the plan is to start at $17 an hour, but that can change between now and then. Obviously it's not going down, but I have to be able to see what's going on at that time, currently with inflation. But a typical goal for us is starting wage is to be above that minimum wage. We also plan to offer full benefits for our employees, including medical, dental, and as well as a company match 401k. And that's what we do at our current businesses as well. Who's applying for the conditional use? So we are applying for the conditional use. And then with regards to, I think that was if we are leasing the property, we are leasing the property. That I hope that answers your question.
No, I thought you said you don't have a lease yet. You're proposing to lease it. And secondly, I think McDonald's which is down the street, was trying to get people at $19 an hour and was having trouble getting people for $19 an hour.
Yeah. So we do have a lease for that property, with regards again to the wage, there's nothing set right now on the wage. Obviously that could change, right? If we're not able, we're completing construction and we're not able to have workers at that rate, that we would have to go up to make sure that we are able to get workers. And again, that's a starting wage, and we intend to significantly increase that as they learn the more positions inside the car wash and grow with us. So that's our intent right now. Again, that not going down from there, but I could imagine it between now and the time that we're finished building that might go up pretty a decent amount. Thank you for the question.
Okay, I think we are down to the final hand. Sarah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, hi.
Hi, thank you for taking the time to do this presentation. I just had a question. I kept hearing about the exit that's going out into Cal and that being a safe route to school. I am just in my head thinking about all the times that I go into the Nugget parking lot and I exit out by the veterinary there to turn left onto Cal. And that is part of the safe route to school. However, I'm assuming more cars would be going in and out of that Nugget parking lot than would be going into your car wash. And that's a blind left and right turn because cars currently can park on both sides of that exit. So on that safe route to school, currently right now, right down the block from you guys, I can exit and on a blind turn. But when looking at your plans, it looks like you guys are planning on putting in red markers there where the cars won't be able to park. So I guess I'm just, and this isn't necessarily a question for you, I guess I just kind of wanted to put this out there because I have kids too. And that being a safe route to school, why is your business having to go above and beyond, which it's already doing? And I appreciate that. And thank you for being willing to even hear our suggestions and comments. But you're going above and beyond by putting in the red spot so cars can't park. So on that safe route to school, there's going to be those green stripes, a better bike lane, but right down the street, when you go into Nugget and you go out to exit left on that safe route to school, it's a blind left or right. There's no green stripes. There's not a redone bike lane there. That seems a lot. That seems riskier than what you're proposing. So I guess this would just go back to the parents and understanding why is your property different compared to that. I feel like what you're doing, honestly, the Nugget, that shopping center should look to and go, you know what, we need to do that too. We need to put in grade stripers. We need to make that not a blind turn. So I hope you do get put in, and I hope that they're able to follow you by example, because it seems like you do have an investment in this community with your kids being in this town. And I'm assuming that if your kids are in this town, they're probably going to school in this town. And if you live in that area, I don't know if they're going to Pioneer or where they're going, but I feel like you have an investment into this town and you will go above and beyond. So yeah, that was my comment. And then I wanted to reiterate, we just email you if we want to, if we have any suggestions. Like, just in my mind, I was thinking, you could put a speed bump in, right? Slow cars down. Now you've done even more than what Nugget's done. Nugget doesn't even have the green stripers, the redone bike lane. And now if you even add a speed bump in. So if we have ideas like that, should we just email them to you?
Yeah, definitely feel free to email any ideas and comments, concerns, and that'll allow me to kind of sort through them and respond and kind of keep track of them a little bit easier for me. But yes, and I appreciate your comments, and I actually like that idea of a speed bump on our lot, kind of slowing the vehicles, making sure they're exiting that side and slowing down before they do it. So I think that's a great idea as well. So thank you so much, Sarah. I appreciate that.
Okay, it looks like we may have one hand that wasn't up before. I think we can take that one, and then I think, just out of respect for everybody's time, that'll be the last question of the evening. It looks like we have one final question from Cheryl.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't think I got an answer to my question about whether you had been working with or sought the input from the businesses across Mace from you, Starbucks, Nugget, Guadalajara. I'm still not sure what the issue was with the bike lanes with Nugget, but in any case, have you been consulting with the other businesses and what kind of impact they're going to have on them as far as the traffic mess? Thank you.
Yeah, so we did put out notice, anything from 500 yards of the site. We did put out a notice to them. I have not heard anything from the businesses, but I do think that's fair to go and start talking with some of these business owners as well. To be honest with you, that's something I just really didn't even think of. So I really appreciate that, and that's something that I will also follow up on.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, it looks like we have now gotten all of the raised hands.
Great. Well, excellent. Thank you guys very much for the opportunity to share this project with you all, and then also for taking the time and really sharing your input as well. I truly believe that that's something that makes Davis unique, but much, in my mind, a great community. And so again, appreciate all of your time, and I look forward to moving forward with this project with some of these ideas in mind as well. So again, thank you all very much, and have a great evening.
Thank you.